Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of TWitWoW Request Live. This is a special requested review from a very generous Patreon donor. You know him in chat and possibly even in the comments if he decides to comment on this video after it gets uploaded and processed properly as Cliff Amal. He was also the same person that requested Survivor Series 2002. That show was great. This show, not so much, but it was still entertaining for very different reasons. So, John, are you ready to review Halloween Havoc 1997?
Oh, I'm ready to review it, but I'm getting my preliminary remarks in. I'm getting them in, brother. First and foremost, thank you to Cliff again for the donation. I mean, 2 Patreon request reviews. You, sir, I mean, we say Scum Squad 444 Life. It's very obvious you are TWitWoW 444 Life, and we are very happy to have you. So thank you so much for that.
You would think, but he didn't even buy the I'm a TWitWoW guy t-shirt. God.
You know what, though? I'm thinking he'll probably buy the Scum Squad t-shirt next year, and that's okay.
So I guess you were wrong. He's more Scum Squad for life than TWitWoW for life.
Well, you know, villainy always wins. How many times do I gotta say it? But
clearly,
I will say this. I mean, I've always prided myself on being a piece of shit, but he must have known, like, man, I'm requesting these guys a doozy, because especially after that main event, and you know the conversation we had when it immediately went off the air, I think it's now my shoulder that's at 12%. So thanks for that, Cliff, but I'm still really excited to talk about this show. Should be a fun time.
It's hilarious. I'm telling you guys, John actually hated this show more than I did. I think I was pretty lukewarm on this show. I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was great. I was kind of like, if I had to give it a grade on a scale of like 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 6.5, maybe a 7. John, what would you give it?
You know, really being fair, because I don't want to come in like all hot fire and brimstone, I'd give it a bit lower than you. I'd say either a 5.5 or a 6, because the matches that were good, I did legitimately really enjoy. And there were even some matches that I was kind of mad about that kind of straddled that line between good and bad. But, I mean, there were a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 on here, or maybe just 2, because I know there are 2 sticking out in my mind that I hated and just really brought the score down. But yeah, I mean, some of the booking decisions and crazy things, like, I'm just like, oh man, it really is WCW. Because I'm guessing this is when they were losing the ratings war, right? This pay-per-view? Or were they still kicking WWE's ass?
This was when they were still winning the ratings war.
Okay, well then, WWF, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because how? Like, how? I don't know. So yeah, if I'm really being fair with the really good stuff on this show, and even the more messed stuff that wasn't outright terrible, I'd give this show a 6, I think. You and I aren't that different. It's just what I hated, I really hated. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
You know what? The funny thing is, the biggest reason that I didn't hate this show is because even the bad stuff I thought was hilarious, so I was still entertained.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like you went into the show, and I'll give you all the credit in the world, with the right attitude, because you're just like, oh, it's so bad, and you know, I can laugh, so in that way it's kind of good. Me, maybe because I was coming off the high of our first Patreon review of, you know, Survivor Series, and thinking, oh man, you know, Cliff now hooking me up. I've never watched WCW. I see now that I've erred on the side of caution, and I was on the right side of history. Holy fucking shit.
Well, the thing is, this show happened during sort of the rise of the WWF. Like, this was when WWF was really just at this point trying to recover from like 4 or 5 years in the absolute gutter, because, you know, Bret Hart and Shawn at the top of the card completely killed business for WWE. And 97 was right around the time that Austin was rising to prominence. And it was, I believe, at WrestleMania 14, which would have been in 98, which would have been April of 98, so 6 months after this show, that Austin beat Michaels for the title at WrestleMania.
Okay. See, because that's another thing, too, that makes this so interesting for me, because, and it's funny, Ashton, because I feel like this is one of those rare times where the shoe's on the other foot, because you're always telling me, like, oh, you've got a great memory for, like, stories and feuds and this and that, but you're the one really imparting the education to me, because, again, this was way before my time. I know it sounds like I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, but again, I got into this business as a fan in like 01, 02, you know, that era, right at the turn of the Ruthless Aggression era, because I do remember Vince giving that promo to the whole locker room. So this was like way before I got into it. And I think I can always appreciate a show more when it's like not in a vacuum and I do have proper context. And I was missing a lot of that here. So maybe if I had it, I would have been more generous, but I don't even know by how much, because I don't think it changes some of the booking decisions that really were on in the show. And
oh no, I mean, don't get me wrong. The booking decisions that they made and the way that certain things were portrayed was just garbage. Like, it was awful. But at the same time, it was just me remembering, like, oh yeah, that's totally how WCW went about business, and remembering, and it was like a combination of good nostalgia, like remembering the good stuff, like, you know, Ray and Eddie and that kind of stuff, and bad nostalgia, where it's like, oh yeah, they really were this bad.
yeah. I was watching this with a mixture of like amusement and just absolute mortification, because I'm like, oh my God, these people were actually at one time on top. Although I will say too, one more preliminary I want to make, and then we probably should formally get into these matches. And I'm saying this not tongue in cheek. I'm being completely sincere. If there's one thing I appreciated about this show, as I normally do with old school shows, it really shows like the era of pro wrestling when you're just like a mega star and you have that larger than life personality. Like, I'll give you a perfect example, like the Luger Scott Hall match. When Luger's making his comeback, the crowd really gets into it.
You know what? I actually kind of enjoyed that match too. Obviously, I think every single match on this card that wasn't in like the first 4 matches had a screwy finish.
Yeah. And that
and the thing is, I was getting ready to say whether it involved the NWO and then I couldn't think of anything else. So really, it was just if it involved the NWO, it had a screwy finish.
And you know something? I will never apologize again for making the joke, oh, throw that guy a T-shirt, because Lord knows the NWO did, even on this show. I'm like, wait a minute, you were in the faction? How? Like... And then I feel like, oh my God, I have a huge rant I need to go on about this show too, but I'm saving for later. I think you know what I'm talking about too.
I don't think I do. I do. Regarding the finish of the main event, right?
Yeah.
And not even really the finish of the main event, but what didn't happen during the finish of the main event.
Yeah, and by the way, just so we're clear, because I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row, because we know that Raven's flock appeared, I think, very early on in the show. They didn't do anything
early on in the show, and literally nothing came of it.
Oh my God, you have fucking Raven with a faction on your product, and you don't do anything with it? Oh my
Dude, they didn't even do anything in the match. They showed up during. Like, they were walking down the steps in the crowd, and then, oh, it's Raven's flock. But they didn't distract anyone in that match, and then we just completely forgot about them for the rest of the night.
Dude, oh my God. Let's just, you know what, do you want to formally get into this review?
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah, let's get into it, John.
Well, I mean, yeah, our opener, wasn't it Yuji Nagata versus Ultimo Dragon?
Yes, and this was probably the match of the night. Second best match of the night behind Mysterio Guerrero.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about Mysterio Guerrero, but I'm gonna hold my tongue on that. This was a fun match, though. Like, and that's another thing too, the nostalgia.
Oh, actually, I want to backtrack a little bit, because we opened the show with a Piper versus Hogan video package.
Yeah, and to be honest, it wasn't even a bad video package. I'm like, okay, like. These are two
it was cool. And you know what? Yeah. To take just a positive takeaway from this, I wish WWE would put this much investment in any pay-per-view main event, to the point that they show a video package for the main event at the beginning of the show to be like, guys, this is why you paid money to see this.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. I thought it was well done. 2 legends, and really this was a case where, yeah, this is the main event because of the name value of both guys. It's like when you talked about in your very first solo commentary, when you look at WrestleMania 3, you know, Hogan and Andre. No, you're not going to see fireman carries and arm drags, but I mean, when you look at the names of the 2 guys, yeah, that screams main event. The same way to me that this did, because it's freaking Piper and Hogan. So I definitely appreciated that for sure.
Yeah, so that was what we opened the show with. And then we find out that our commentary team for the night is Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone, and Dusty Rhodes. And the first few matches that were cruiserweight matches, Shivani was replaced by, I forget his name. Help me out
Mike
here, John.
Tenay?
Thank you. Yes, Mike Tenay. So Mike Tenay replaced Shivani for the first 3 matches or 4 matches. I think it was just 3. Yeah, it was just the first 3 matches. And that was our commentary team. And this is the part that cracked me up. This entire pay-per-view was sponsored by Slim Jim, but you couldn't just say Halloween Havoc 1997 sponsored by Slim Jim. It was Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, I found that quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, for the cruiserweights, Mike Tenay's on commentary, and I'll be honest, I liked it. And you know what? I'm glad that you pointed that out, because after the cruiserweight matches, I'm like, wow, commentary really seems to have taken a shift. Like before, I thought they were really good, really focusing on the matches, and then after the cruiserweight matches, unless I'm just imagining things because I like them so much,
No,
it
dude,
seemed like all it was NWO
honestly,
and Hogan.
I've noticed even during Oh no, you know what? You're right. It was after the cruiserweight matches, because after the cruiserweight matches, every single match, they were not talking about the match, and this wasn't even because of Mike Tenay being amazing and Tony Schiavone being awesome or being awful. It was all by God, my names are horrible. It was all Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes basically kept his mouth shut during the first 3 matches. And then after the cruiserweight stuff was over with, and we went to like Steve Mongo McMichael versus Alex Wright, and then Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline and all that stuff, Dusty Rhodes all of a sudden could not shut up about the NWO and whether Hulk Hogan was going to wrestle tonight or not.
Yeah, I honestly, it really does take you like back to the present with all the talk about the network or side beef with a couple commentators. I'm like, just focus on the match. Like I was so into it with
Dude,
the cruiserweight matches.
I can't stand the WWE with their constant shilling, but they did not get. I don't think I remember them being this bad as far as just being incapable of focusing on what's going on in the ring since Michael Cole as a heel.
Yeah, dude, it's like if you're watching the show and they could almost sense your thoughts deviating. Hey, are you not thinking about Hulk Hogan? Because you should be thinking about Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry.
It's basically the way Roman was treated for his 2-year monster push before Vince finally decided to give up on him when he, failed the drug test.
Oh God, I know. But yeah, I mean, Ultimo. You what? Bro, I think you had a really bad cutout there. What did you say?
I say give up on him in super duper hard air quotes.
Yes, because we all know it's still and forever will be Roman Reigns time. But Ultimo Dragon and Yuji Nagata, I enjoyed this again because of the nostalgia factor of just seeing Yuji Nagata as he used to be, because he's still a beast now in New Japan. So seeing him in his younger years, kind of doing his thing was really cool. And Ultimo Dragon, I remember him very briefly, as part of SmackDown's Cruiserweight division during the Ruthless Aggression era. So it was great to see both guys at these particular points in their careers. And yeah, fun match, dude. I mean, I like the...
I think what I loved most about this was realizing just how over Ultimo Dragon was for this match. Like, he got great reaction from the crowd. Like, he got like babyface Jericho level pops when he went for that Dragon Sleeper. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, and dude, like again, to commentary's credit, I would say for all the cruiserweight matches, really, if there was like a bigger name in there, like say Ultimo Dragon or later on like Eddie Guerrero, they made them seem like huge deals. Like, oh, when you go into this arena and you've done all they've done, like, that's what you could expect. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. So I don't know if this came like after, all the alleged complaints of like Guerrero and Jericho about the Cruiserweight division in WCW, because the booking seemed great to me. They got a multitude of matches and each one seemed to get a respectable amount of time. So I was actually
that's
impressed.
The crazy thing, dude. The Cruiserweight division was given more respect from a booking standpoint than the main event.
Yeah.
And obviously they didn't get more time, but they didn't have the screwy finishes like the main event matches did.
I mean, honestly, dude, and I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm being 100% serious with the way this show was booked and how much, like, I was in to really all the Cruiserweight matches on every level, from the competitors to the commentary to everything. This really should have just been a Cruiserweight-centric show with Guerrero and Mysterio as the main event. because it was mask versus title kind of thing. And I feel like they would have been better off with that than just making this just another WCW pay-per-view with the main event that we did get. But I digress. So yeah, I mean, very fun match. I liked how the psychology in this thing, because they're like, oh, Ultimo Dragon, he's got bone chips in his elbow, so arm issues. And he tried getting in the Dragon Sleeper, but Nagata was too much for him, and then he ends up winning with the Fujiwara armbar, does Nagata. So I like the psychology of working over the arm. Ultimo Dragon trying to battle back, with the Dragon Sleeper, but ultimately he does fall to the Fujiwara, and Nagata gets the submission win. So yeah, really fun opener, me. I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah. Oh, man. The one thing I did want to bring up about this match, and really not even just the match, but this sort of feud in general, this wasn't a feud between Ultimo Dragon and Yuji Nagata. Yuji Nagata was brought in as a representative for Sonny Ono, who was his manager, and this was an Ultimo Dragon versus Sonny Ono feud. So that was the feud that was going on. It made me really think, like, how great would it be if we had a credible heel manager these days who could bring someone in, just get somebody from like New Japan or CMLL or AAA or anywhere like that, and just bring them in just cold, completely, skip NXT, skip all that crap, just bring them straight in to Raw or SmackDown and have them start feuding with an over babyface, but it would be the manager versus the face, so they would have to have a pre-existing feud, but still it would get that guy instantly over, and it worked for Yuji Nagata here. Yuji Nagata is, I mean, immediately when he shows up in the cruiserweight division, he's one of the biggest cruiserweights they would have had, because even now, and granted, obviously he's put on some weight since 1997, but he's 238, 240 pounds now. So back then he had to barely be under that 225-pound weight limit. Meanwhile, Ultimo Dragon could probably fit under the 205-pound weight limit that we have these days.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you. I love the idea of a manager having beef with a competitor, and so they like go outside and they bring somebody in. I think it's a really cool concept, and it really played into the match because the manager afterwards, he kicks Ultimo Dragon right in the bad arm, and gets like his measure of revenge on Ultimo Dragon. So yeah, really cool opening match, and really I thought it would be a great tone setter, and it was for a while. But then we kind of veered off course, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I definitely had fun with this.
Yeah, this match got a pretty decent chunk of time. Crowd was pumped and popped pretty big when Ultimo went for the Dragon Sleeper, but Nagata actually ended up winning this. And I appreciate that because you've got Ultimo as kind of your established talent. Yuji Nagata is coming in. They made a big deal out of him. This was clearly his debut in WCW. We've never seen him before. He comes in and immediately picks up a win. Credibility established. I wish WWE was willing to do stuff like that these days.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the dominance of his win because, again, he goes for the Fujiwara on the bad arm. The commentary did a great job of establishing, hey, Ultimo Dragon's got bone chips in the elbow. And Ultimo Dragon taps out immediately. Like, that old gets locked in and he's tapping out. So really made Nagata look like a boss. And really it was the smart move to make because if it's the manager who is a heel having beef with the babyface competitor, well, if you give the babyface the win, that makes the manager look like an idiot with egg all over his face. I went outside for nothing. But yeah, he got a worthwhile talent, and it really, gets them both over. It gets heat on the manager and gives the credibility to the muscle. So great stuff.
Yeah. So I really appreciate it. Could you imagine though, like, obviously Brock Lesnar isn't around 365. Imagine if Paul Heyman introduced Roderick Strong as like a new Paul Heyman guy, and he was one of the guys that would get like maybe he like his first match is against a guy like Neville or Sami Zayn or somebody who isn't like main event but still has some credibility to him, and Roddy would go over. That would instantly create a mid-card heel that you could then use. You could put a mid-card title on him if you wanted. There's a lot of... You can even do that with Roman, to be honest. I mean, I don't think Vince would ever allow Roddy Strong to go over Roman Reigns, but on that same note, if he would, you would create not necessarily a star, but you would create a credible entity in the upper mid card that you could use in the future to put other guys over, including, if you really want to, Roman himself. You could put him right back over. So, and you could even, like, if your commentary team is on point, you could be like, oh, well, this is really unfortunate because Roman didn't have time to prepare for this guy, and he's doing things that nobody else in the WWE does. So this is brand new to Roman. He doesn't know how to handle this offense.
Yeah, I mean, look, what have I said since day one to you and to longtime listeners of TWitWoW? You are what you're booked. You know, if you come in and you're looking like this killer, or you're getting wins, or say they do what you said and they come in and they upset Roman Reigns, that's a huge deal because of how Roman Reigns is presented, whether we like it or not, as this main event guy, even when he's supposedly not in the main event. So yeah, I mean, to have Nagata come in and get this win over Ultimo Dragon, which again, to commentary's credit, they made Ultimo Dragon seem like a huge deal. You know, a very decorated performer, has performed in some of the best venues in the world, and Nagata comes in and he taps him out. You know, as soon as he gets the Fujiwara locked in, that makes him look like a freaking beast. You know, that's how you create people. If you're going to build up these big guys, have them, pass on to the next generation. That's why I've always, admired Jericho when he works with people most of the time, is he'll put them over because he knows the credibility of his name, and that's how you build stars. So yeah, I definitely like that. WCW did this.
Yeah. All right. So up next we went to the internet zone, which is where Mark Madden hangs out apparently. And he's got Disco Inferno sitting with him talking about how he's going to be fighting a woman tonight. And he gets all misogynistic about it and shit, which makes sense because he's a heel. So, I'm not going to hate. But then Jackie shows up and says, "Hey, why is he getting the interview? Why am I not getting the interview?" And Mark's just like, "Well, we tried to contact you." Jackie jumps over the table and starts going after Disco. This was pretty great.
Yeah, this and the match they had later was so interesting because I've just always found Disco Inferno to be an absolute tool. And so, I really quite enjoyed all this. But yeah, I'll have more to say when we actually get to the match later, but this was fine.
Well, up next was our second match of the night, Ghetto versus Chris Jericho. John, you and I are very familiar with Ghetto thanks to G1 Climax. He is the jobber that can defeat no jobbers. He is truly the bottom of the barrel, and the only man that I think he's capable of getting a pinfall victory over is indeed Captain New Japan. But even Captain New Japan has something interesting going for right now. He's not even Captain New Japan anymore. He's now known as the Bone Soldier, and he's in the Bullet Club. So Ghetto is basically bottom bitch. But he was going against Chris Jericho on this show and wearing probably the worst gear I've ever seen.
Yeah, here's the thing. Ghetto may be bottom barrel now, but apparently it wasn't always that way because, again, commentary talking about how he's won, Super Junior tournaments and he's beaten the likes of Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit, like, huge. All the while, he's looking like Ronald McDonald's intern in that freaking attire. And I'm just like, it's a huge juxtaposition for me because I'm like, you look ridiculous, dude. Somebody needs to pull you aside in Gorilla and tell you that you look ridiculous. But yeah, very credible cruiserweight. And Chris Jericho, the Lionheart, I mean, obviously Jericho's been wrestling forever. And it's funny because they made a big deal when he jumped over to the WWF. Like, he was a big-time cruiserweight in WCW. But 4 years after this event, at No Mercy 2001, he'd become WCW champion by beating The Rock. And they made a big deal like, oh, he never got a shot at the big gold and this and that. So it's just interesting to see him in this spot and then knowing where he'd be 4 years later. Not just that, but undisputed champion a mere 4 years later. So crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, this match was great. I enjoyed it. It was great seeing Ghetto work. And again, they really built him up on commentary, like this huge deal and this rivalry he had with Jericho, because I think they were former tag team partners, to my understanding. And yeah, you could really see like he's trying to peg Jericho apart. He had this one great spot on Jericho where he really drove his knee into the canvas. And I thought he was going to start picking apart Jericho's knee, but I don't think that happened. Another point where Jericho tried going for what was called at the time the Jericho Spike, the top rope Frankensteiner. I don't know if that was a legitimate blog by Ghetto or if that was a botch, because I saw it and I'm like, I think it could have split hands.
That was a full-blown botch. And you know it was a botch because they said, "Oh, Ghetto blocked it," and then Jericho went for the cover.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have been better saying, "Oh, I don't think Jericho got all of it," because then I could at least somewhat believe that. But yeah, that was kind of crazy to me. And then Ghetto tried going for a knee off the top, but then he got caught, and then Jericho ends up winning with the Lion Tamer. But, fun back and forth match. I mean, and it's very interesting to see where both of these guys are today, and yet they share a ring at this event. So cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, this was Jericho before his heel turn. This is when he was still generic baby face, smile at the crowd and kiss baby's face Chris Jericho. So, this was a solid match, but this was before Jericho even got interesting in WCW.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, just very interesting to see like where they were then compared to where they are now. And yeah, Jericho gets the win, and he just moved right along with his business.
The submission win via Walls of Jericho.
Yeah, full blown lion tamer, brother. He was burying that knee in there. Yeah,
Well,
so
that's what the Walls of Jericho was before he came to WWE, and they made him change it.
that is true. Yes, that is true. So, yeah, Jericho submission win. In fact, yeah, that's the funny thing. The first two cruiserweight matches get submission wins. So they were bringing that kind of cruiserweight style and then not worrying about the flippy shit long before the CWC. Find that quite interesting.
I mean, there was still plenty of flippy shit, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. But then we had a Mean Gene Okerlund interview with Deborah McMichael, and she has a big surprise, but she denies that it's Jeff Jarrett. She says it's not Mike Cook. It's not going to be Steven Seagal either. And then Mongo McMichael shows up and he demands that Deborah give back his ring and his credit cards, but she refuses. And I got to give Deborah credit here. She was a better talker during this segment than I've ever given her credit for. And it's not to say she's good, it's just that she wasn't awful.
Yeah, again, like I was missing so much context here. So I'm like, is she the bad guy? Is she just standing up for herself against a guy that may be an abusive pig? Like, I don't know. Because when he's like, oh, give me back the ring and the credit cards, it's like, oh, so did you think you could buy her? Like, what are we doing here? What's going on? But yeah, it wasn't bad. She's just like, no, I won't give it up because I've earned it. And, I've got something in my pocket and everything's going to work out. So, yeah, it was what it was. I can't really say much about it.
Oh, that match ended up being so bad.
Oh,
but anyway,
yeah.
let's get our Oasis out of the way here, or let's get to the Oasis, I guess I should say, because our third match of the night, Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero. Eddie sucks was the most commonly heard phrase during this match because the crowd would not stop chanting it.
Now, bro, I know Eddie Guerrero was your favorite wrestler, for a long time, and I still think he's one of your all-time favorites. So I'm going to have you take the reins on this one first. What did you think of this match?
Oh, this was so fun. This was great. Eddie is such an amazing heel when you give him a chance. He's a great, charming face, but no one is better than Eddie at getting a crowd to hate him. And I mean, even before this show happened, he must have done a great job at it because all you needed was for his music to play, and he was getting Eddie Sucks chance. And the way he comes out and his music is kind of like a weird hybrid of like Razor Ramon and Carlito's music. And he's got the title, he's got the freaking dark mullet rocking, and it was great, man. He comes out, this match was crazy, just all the lucha stuff, all the lucha things. Kalisto would be jealous. This was just awesome. I mean, there was even a very Lucha Underground-esque spot in this where Eddie tore Ray's mask open. That just reminded me so much of like a Mil Phoenix match or something like that.
Bro, to me, to put it succinctly to start, this was match of the night, first of all, on this show. I think this is one of the best matches I've ever seen, period. Because in this one match,
I know, but just the way you said on this show, it's like this was the best match ever on this piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not even being that much hyperbole there. But I think what this match did in just one little setting there was not only really show why Rey Mysterio is going to go down in history as one of the best, if not the best, luchador in the world, but it also shows why Eddie Guerrero just in general is one of the best wrestlers in the world, or was, I should say, unfortunately. He was brilliant in this. Like Ray did great stuff, but I mean, let's be real here. He had maybe like 2 or 3 breathtaking spots that are like, damn, that was impressive. But most of what he did, and I mean this as a compliment because he was the babyface, he did a great job selling and being ragdolled and portraying the struggle. Eddie, on the other hand, I fucking loved his heel work. And can I just say, his psychology was masterful. because not only is he picking Ray's back apart, all leading up to that gory special, you know, and stretching him out, but of course, with the stipulation, cruiserweight title versus mask, he's doing the trash talking, he's ripping at the mask, and he's working everybody. Like you said, that crowd was hot for Eddie, you know, really chanting Eddie sucks and pouring it down on him. This crowd was emotionally invested in these cruiserweights, and it just goes to show that your interest and your emotion can go somewhere other than the main event scene. And these guys exemplified that. This was one hell of a match. It had a clear story. I'm putting my mask on the line, which if anybody's familiar with Lucha Libre culture, you know what a big fucking deal that is. You have Eddie Guerrero.
That was actually, there was a really cool line on commentary that they were talking about how Eddie used to wrestle as, I don't know the exact word, but it was Spanish for hummingbird. Or no, that was Ray. Ray wrestled as that. But Eddie used to wrestle in Mexico, and he was a masked wrestler, and he was one of the only people in the history of Mexico that voluntarily unmasked.
Yeah, I like that line too, because it really does show, like, Eddie Guerrero, his arrogance, his malice for people like Rey Mysterio Jr. And yeah, this was a great bout. And can I just say, I'm grateful too to have seen a match of Rey Mysterio like pre-WWE when he was still the shit, like when he was still the talk of like the cruiserweights and you want to see Lucha Libre, you see Rey Mysterio. So yeah, I got to really see both these guys do what they do best. And, you know, seeing this, it just gives me a whole new appreciation for the rivalry they'd have later in WWE, which is one of my favorites because Eddie again got to play the heel and he was just magnificent. So, yeah, great match. And I love how Eddie, even when the match is over and he could take his bow and, you know, go to the back, when Ray's celebrating with the title, he still gets that last cheap shot in. Like, I'm still the heel. I'm getting all the heat. So I loved it, man. So freaking good. This match was a masterpiece. Really, a true work of art.
This was awesome. I love getting to see Eddie again. I love that, you know, he was in his element, getting to be the heel here, getting to, you know, just kind of dominate Ray for a while before putting his old pal Rey Mysterio over. Yeah, this was awesome. This was a lot of fun. I don't really have a lot to add though.
Yeah, like I said, really all my praise, and again, not to shortchange Ray. I mean, that arm-assisted DDT that he got in the match was gorgeous. And yeah, Ray was very exciting, but I've got to give a lot of the praise to Eddie because I think when you're the heel, you're shouldering a lot because you need to be unlikable. You need to kind of evoke that disdain from people. And I think he did a great job of that. And his psychology of just relentlessly working over the back. You know, if you would counter a maneuver of Ray's back would pay the price and just never stopped on it. I mean, just, you know, the Guerrero family is a wrestling dynasty for this reason because of gems like Eddie Guerrero. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So great stuff.
Yeah. This was in his blood, brother. It was all he knew.
Absolutely, my friend.
Okay, so up next, we had Mean Gene plugging the WCW hotline, which, can I just say, this was in 1997. I think the minimum wage back then was still like between $5 and $6 an hour, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And the WCW hotline was $1.59 a minute.
Man, those better be some hot tips. God damn.
I know, like, you better be giving me all the inside info. Like, I better be able to bet Vegas on this shit.
How many children do you think got disowned because they went to the hotline without their parents' permission? Like, oh my
God. But they put a disclaimer so they're not even liable if that does happen.
Oh man, so many parents got so boned. They see the phone bill. What the fuck? WCW Halloween Havoc. But Dad, I got to learn that Sting wasn't gonna show up after all. Isn't that great? Oh my God, ridiculous. I never once, you know, because I was born in 92, and like I was 5 at the time of this pay-per-view. But again, thank goodness I actually came into wrestling late, because I think when I came in, those hotlines were being phased out, because I may have been stupid enough to abuse them. Like, I laugh, but I might have been that guy. Like, okay, so what's the dirt you got? And then, you know, it would end up being nothing, and then like, oh my God, just ridiculous.
Like, why would you pay $1.59 a minute when you could just pay I think it's $10.99 a month for the Wrestling Observer and get all the hot tips from that?
Oh my god, that shit's $10.99. Oh my god, what world am I living
Well, you got to
in?
remember, for a while I had the podcast. I would never pay Meltzer, but I had the podcast on my rotation for a few months until they decided that spoiling Lucha Underground was an okay thing to do. And yeah, they had this thing where they would plug, of course, every single episode, $10.99 a month, and then every now and then they would be like, "Oh, we've got this amazing deal for you guys, only $3.99 a month for your first 3 months," and then of course they would jack the price right back up to $11 a month.
You know what? Anybody who indulged in that service, I'd see if it's too late to get a refund or not. I just find that to be such a way. I was laughing my ass off when they were plugging this hotline. I'm like, oh yeah, great tips. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be some real fucking revelations that you'll go to the press with tomorrow morning. Like, oh my God, are you people daft? Like, what is this? What is this? But
you know what's really funny too is our boy Good Mike Work used to work for the WWE hotline, I think.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
That's crazy to me. That is crazy. And you know what? The only reason I'm getting so worked up is, again, admittedly, I probably would have been that sucker. I probably would have been like, dude. Oh, wow.
Wow, Dario.
Wow, WCW. You mean I get all the insider tips if I just steal my mom's credit card? Sweet. Oh, my God.
Yeah, dude. I admittedly, I always wanted to do this. Like, I was always like, every time one of these things would get plugged on a pay-per-view, I'd be like, "Mom, can I call? I want to find out what's gonna happen." And I have, my mom is pretty smart, pretty good parent, I'd say, and she always shut that shit down immediately.
Oh, thank goodness for proper parenting. By the way, to all the parents that may be listening that were a part of this era and you let the children on the hotline, you failed. And I'm not even going to waste a fail bomb on you. You don't deserve it.
The worst part is there are parents who were on the hotline.
Oh, my God. Feed your families. Don't you have a mortgage to pay? Jesus Christ. Oh, my God.
This is what the internet is for, people.
How dare you use your adorableness to shill this shit, Mean Gene? How dare you? We believed in you.
I'm sorry, but it's just so funny thinking about like what the world is now, and then like 97, they had an internet zone that Mark Madden was in, and they got all these exclusive interviews with different people. It's just ridiculous.
I will say, like, I feel like, and see, this is gonna be me being a WWF bitch, I guess. I feel like they kind of did it better, because I know they also did a hotline probably with tips, which is still horrible, but I also feel like they did a hotline at times where you could actually talk to superstars. And I'm like, well, I guess that's okay. But, like, still, I don't know. Grown adults, why did you waste your money on this? Why? Like, I don't understand. I don't want to understand. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable that Mean Gene would sell this to me. I feel betrayed. So, what came after this?
Well, it doesn't get a whole hell of a lot better, because up next we had a way too long Hogan and Bischoff pre-tape.
Yeah, like, I shit you not, because I was really enjoying the show at first, as I really can't emphasize enough given where we're going. And this is probably the first time that I actually checked the timestamp on the video. I'm like, so how much time we got left? Because I'm like, are they gonna talk until main event time? Like, man, pretty much all they said was, "Give in to our demands or we leave." Like, why couldn't you?
But it took them like 4 minutes to say it.
I never want to hear, and it's funny I say this because I know Cliff is in the chat and a lot of other people that enjoy Triple Trake and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know Triple H could be long-winded, but Jesus Christ, like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, hurry the fuck up. What do you want to say? And then get out. We got a show to do. But yeah, like, it was ridiculous.
Hulk Hogan promo forever and ever for 100 years, Morty.
Not if the spare bullet I have has anything to say about it. Oh my God. And then Bishop.
What's the matter, John? You don't like an infinite amount of dude, brother Jack?
Dude, brother Jack, this contract better get signed, and I better get my belt back, or I'm gonna go to the Grand Hotel, and you don't want to disappoint the fans, do you? Because I am the god of professional wrestling. Well, looks like he can sue JBL just like he sued Gawker. But yeah,
I don't know if JBL would want that, though, considering the damage he did to Gawker. He literally put them out of business.
Yeah, that's what I call a legal leg drop, brother. But listen to you. Are you all right over there? But yeah.
I'm fine.
But I mean, Bischoff. Oh my God, looking at Bischoff's face tonight with that fucking haircut and that smile of his. I mean, I know I called Disco Inferno an absolute tool, and he is, and we'll get more into that later. But I mean, Bischoff, my God, you're a little bitch. Like, oh my God, this.
I feel like this whole pre-tape was just Hogan being like, "Listen up, dude, brother Jack. Let me tell you something, brother dude, Jack, brother dude, Jack. Either Sting gets banned from ringside tonight, brother, or I'm out, Jack, dude." And then Bischoff was just behind him like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is Hulk Hogan, guys. Yeah, he's awesome. Sting sucks. NWO for life. Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, do you see these arms? They've got me fully chubbed. Yeah.
Yeah, Hogan literally did the flex thing, and Bischoff grabbed him by the arm, and Hogan was like, "Oh yeah, brother. Yeah, brother."
Oh. Like these two, oh my God, this was quintessential Hulk fucking Hogan right here.
And it wasn't supposed to be. That's the worst part, is that this is supposed to be Hollywood Hogan. This is what everybody wanted. We wanted him to stop with the brother dude Jack guy kind of promos and be more succinct and just be like, let someone else talk for him and be like a silent asshole. And no, he's just got a brother dude Jack all the way to the freaking hotel. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm like, I heard all this great stuff about Hollywood Hogan. Oh, one of the greatest heels ever. Oh, so good. You ain't shit, Hollywood. You ain't shit.
The only thing that made him a great heel was that he turned heel as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, no, dude, after seeing this, you're not even wrong. And I even had suspicions of that. Like, wow, they really talked about it. Are they sure it's not just really a big deal because it was Hulk fucking Hogan becoming a villain? Yeah. The same guy.
Dude, that is the only reason WCW dominated the ratings like they do, because they got Hogan and he was stagnating. So they finally pulled the trigger that WWF was never willing to pull, and they turned him heel, and they put him with the hottest heel stable arguably of all time. And because of that Hogan heel turn and Nash and Hall running roughshod, which Kevin Nash wasn't even on this show, sadly. I freaking love Kevin Nash. But no, we didn't get to see him tonight, and this became the Hulk Hogan brother dude Jack stable of WCW. And the whole story was NWO wants to be the brand. They want to kill WCW so that when you tune in on Monday nights, you don't see WCW Nitro, you see NWO brother dude Jack.
Yeah, and then that is true. That is the one like kernel of worthwhile information in this promo. And yet, looking back on it, this turned out to be another comedy segment inadvertently, because Hulk Hogan's just like, "Oh, you got to make sure that Sting's bent." "Oh, don't worry, Hulk. We're not going to have a problem with Sting. I promise you that." Holy fucking shit. But yeah.
You know what was really hilarious too was that, like, we don't get Sting as we discussed, but we get a whole hell of a lot of people that want to be Sting.
Yes. Oh my God, that rant that I've got prepared for the main event. But no, for now, this was
okay. I've got people in chat that want me to say "Yappa Pie" for some reason.
I don't know why. You know what? Much like this show, I'm lacking context, and I can't even be bothered.
John, are you seriously trying to tell me you've never heard of the Yappa Pie strap match, brother dude Jack?
No. God, do I have to learn about it? I think I prefer my ignorance.
I think you might. The only way you'll have to learn about it is if somebody donates to get us to review the show that he had that match on.
Yeah, so there you go. Want me to suffer? You gotta donate. Yeah, brother dude Jackson, I can do it too. I can do it too, Hulk. You're not special. God, I'm being triggered. Oh my God, Hulk's triggering me. Oh fuck, and we still gotta talk about
Did you just trigger yourself?
I think I did. Oh my God, Hulkamania is running wild in my mind in the worst possible way. Oh my God. So yeah. This promo, too long. They want control of Nitro, Sting being banned, which that's fucking hilarious, and orders and stuff, and then they leave. Oh,
yeah. Oh, okay. So that was that. And then we got right into Steve Mongo McMichael versus Deborah's special representative, Alex Wright.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This was... Okay.
Was this the worst finish on the entire card, or do you still give that to the main event?
You know what? No, this was the worst finish on this card. Because at least the main event, I can understand it, because they're coming back to the sleeper, and they're like, oh, he beat Hogan 2 prior times with that. So I can understand that, even if I vehemently disagree with everything else. This was hot fucking garbage. Oh, my God. What the fuck? First of all, okay, I can't even be... Oh, no, actually, no. No, that's not the first of all. That's second of all. First of all, Alex Wright, you... Again, Disco Inferno, absolute tool, definitely. You, the whole goddamn shed is Alex Wright. What was that dancing you were doing? And the fans imitating it? Shame on you. Be ashamed of yourself. I hope you have a tape of this and you watched it back and you realized how horrible you look. My eyes, my corneas were forcibly deteriorating seeing that shit. I'm like, holy fuck, because I was joking with Ashton in the lead up to the show. Oh, I know Alex Wright from the WCW video games. You were better in the fucking game. Oh my God. Who was this piece of trash? Holy fuck. And then they have this match.
He was Das Wunderkind, John. He was a German wrestler. Come on.
Well, yeah. Oh God, I wish I knew enough German to insult this man. But I don't, unfortunately. You know what? You're not even worth me being bilingual, Alex, right? So it's actually not a problem. Second of all, the commentary couldn't even get me to give a fucking shit about this match because I swear they were all jerking themselves under the table. Hogan. Oh God, Sting. Oh God, main event. Like that's all the focus is on. Oh, NWO. Oh God, what did they get to the NWO stuff? Like focus on the fucking. I don't know who any of these fucking people are. I don't know their motivations. I don't know what they're about. The styles they do. I feel like this match had a couple, like I feel like there was a tombstone botch spot at one point with Alex Wright trying to tombstone Steve. That didn't really work out, but then Steve gets a tombstone on Alex Wright. And then, because I'm missing a lot of context, which might have soured my mood, maybe if I didn't see this in a vacuum and I knew all the appropriate plot points and everything, I'd feel better about it. But then Goldberg comes in.
No, dude, you got to understand. There was no context. Goldberg showing up wasn't built to. There was no history between him and Deborah. He literally just showed up, and then I guess we were meant to assume that he kind of got like paid, like he was like a paid assassin by Deborah to make sure that Mongo lost this match.
Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me?
Because then after the match, she gave him a Super Bowl ring, and he was like, yeah, I finally got it. Yeah. And he was all excited about it. So I guess that was his payment for taking out Mongo.
This is the Goldberg. The guy that you saw recently squash Brock Lesnar in 90 seconds and burn suplex City into the ground. He's a part of this horse shit. Oh my God. And the ref distracted. Hey, ma'am, stop talking to me over there. I've got a match over the shake. Oh, I thought I just heard the ring shake. Oh, let me just turn my head slightly. Oh, I can clearly see another man in there, but I've still got to be distracted with you. Get back in there. I got to make the count. Oh, look, Alex Wright's on top. 1, 2, 3. You saw it, motherfucker. You saw Goldberg in there. Don't act like you didn't see it. You fucking saw him in there. When he speared Steve, right? Steve hits the ref's leg. He's right by his his fucking foot. Don't tell me you didn't feel shit. You didn't
Dude,
see shit.
not
You
only
didn't hear
did he
shit.
literally knock the referee in the leg when he did the spear, but then when he got him up for the freaking jackhammer, the referee turned around almost all the way and saw him with Mongo up in the jackhammer, and then turned right back around and went back to yelling at Deborah.
This match made me want to cry. This match.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I struggle to suspend my disbelief when stuff like this happens and it's blatantly behind the ref's back, just because I feel like, how would the ref not feel the ring shaking a little bit more than it should be when your back is turned, and turn around and be like, oh, well, you're disqualified. But to this degree, where not only does he feel the ring shaking, but he literally gets touched on the leg by McMichael, and then he blatantly sees Goldberg getting McMichael up for a jackhammer, and then he intentionally makes sure that he turns right back around to focus on Deborah, because I can't be seeing what's going on in the ring, even though I totally already did. You guys don't tell anyone.
And dude, like, another thing too that's a more like minute complaint, like if you're gonna do this kind of spot, which I feel like after this match was grossly overdone on this show, it just went on too long. Like if Goldberg had just come in and did a spear and left, I'd be more forgiving, even though, again, the spear was very close to the referee. But no, you have to do the spear and the jackhammer? Really? And that conversation felt like it went on forever. I'm like, bitch, turn the fuck around. You have a match to officiate. If she's talking to you for this long, dude, I guarantee you she's not interested in you.
Let's be fair. The entire time Lil Nate was distracted by Deborah in this, we got a Goldberg match. It was a full-on Goldberg squash match in the middle of the ring with the ref distracted.
Yeah. Oh my God. But like,
I'm not even joking when I say that this Goldberg interference was a spear and a shove short of being a move for move recreation of his squash on Brock.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not even wrong. And the thing is, like, I don't want to be, like, overly logical, because this is fucking professional wrestling, and Lord knows when we're so into a mythology like what Lucha Underground presents, logic should go out the window when wrestling's really good. But see, when it's bad, then it just comes to the forefront for me. And I'm just thinking, if she is talking to you all that time, don't you think something's up? Like, she's not asking you for
I just imagine Deborah yelling at him, like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And he's just like, what are you talking about? I got to officiate a match. And she's like, no, you're not allowed to turn around. Keep looking at me. If you have to yell at me, do it, but you're an a-hole. And then she's like, hey, I'm not an a-hole. I have a match to officiate. She's like, no, you don't. What are you talking about? And he's like, yes, I do. She's like, no, stay looking at me. You're not allowed to turn around. And oh, what's that on my leg? Nothing. Don't worry about
it. Exactly. You're not even fucking verbatim. That's what the conversation was, to go on that fucking long. And then when Alex Wright, the fucking loser, is just like, oh, hey, thanks, Bill, for your help. Pop right in the face. He gets laid out because fuck Alex Wright, right? And I think Kid Coheed was the one that requested that I call him a Deutschbag. Yeah, you are a Deutschbag. Go fuck yourself. But and then Goldberg leaves.
Why are you calling Alex Wright a German bag in his native tongue?
Does he deserve anything less? Does he deserve anything more? Does he deserve anything at all? No, he doesn't. Stick to the fucking video game, Alex Wright. I thought you were an unlockable character or some shit. When I found out that you exist and that you're terrible, like, I feel like a part of me died. Oh, Jesus, this whole thing was horrible. Worst match on this show, easily.
Man.
That is saying something, because it's not like the other matches didn't try, but you guys pulled it out.
They tried really hard after this to top it, but they just couldn't pull it off.
Alex Wright and Steve, what was his last name? Mondo?
His nickname is Mongo with a G, Mongo, and his last name is McMichael.
Oh, well, okay. So Alex Wright, Steve McMichael, I am not calling you by your middle name. Fuck that. First to the worst.
It's not his middle name. It's his nickname, like the Macho Man, but it's Mongo.
Well, you know what? Mongo is a terrible nickname. You should feel bad. Actually, take notes from Macho Man, who is actually amazing, and suck less. But you won't, because matches like this happen, and you clearly have no desire to change. So, yeah, this is horrible.
All right. So up next, we went back to the internet zone, you guys, because we have Macho Man. Oh, yeah. Snap into the Macho Madness talking, of course, to Mark Madden about his match tonight against DDP, and he says stuff about how DDP's not ready for the Macho Madness and all that stuff. But this was really quick because it actually got cut off.
Yeah, and then they actually realized, oh shit, we have a show to do. So yeah, harmless here. Even if I can't always follow like Macho Man, I just love his speaking style and his way of cutting promos. So yeah, I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Okay, so then we get into our fifth match of the night, and this was by far the most interesting match of the night, if for no other reason because it was horrible and horribly misogynistic, and the commentary, everyone except for Bobby Heenan was an asshole to women everywhere. Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline, aka how the hell are we going to do this without looking like total scumbags? And the answer is apparently you're not, because you look like total scumbags.
Yeah, my only memory, if you guys are wondering why I'm so insistent on calling Disco Inferno a tool, my only other memory of Disco Inferno was when he showed up on a TNA show and Ken Anderson was feuding with Sting. And I remember Disco Inferno was like, he more or less told Ken Anderson that he sucks. And Ken Anderson was like, what did you say? He's like, you heard me. I said you. And then he did some disco moves like, suck. And then I'm like, you know what, Disco? You deserve to get the shit beat out of you for that alone. Like, I would bludgeon you in the face. You're fucking horrible. You need to apologize to everybody for your goddamn life. That's what needs to happen. But I know it's not going to. And then this match, you know what? Because I know with the whole Sexy Star and then Mundo beating her a week later, like there was a big flare up and conversations and horrible comments and thoughtful comments, just the whole thing about intergender wrestling. No. Seeing this in 1997, I am glad that we live in 2016 with promotions like Lucha Underground that do it right, because, man, like, on one hand, this wasn't terrible because Disco Inferno's playing the part of the heel and he's creating distance and he's not creating activity, which gets the crowd, really like riled up, like, oh, come on, we want to see action. And then, of course, Jacqueline beating his ass, makes him pop like, yeah, really give it to him. On the other hand, though, boy, you aren't wrong about the misogyny and everything. I think it was even Dusty Rhodes that said, well, it's not like he could even put a hold on her, Like, oh, what do you mean? Because what, he'd be interacting with, like, her breast or something? Like, it just made me so uncomfortable, some of the commentary. And just like,
and speaking of which, freaking Disco did a drop toe hold on Jackie, and I guess her top was like just sliding a little bit. Like, it didn't even show anything. Like, it's not like her full boob was exposed or anything. It was just a little bit more skin than she intended. And Dusty might as well have ejaculated on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, whoa, baby! Oh my goodness! Let's see a replay of that, baby.
Oh my God! Yeah, we clearly weren't ready for this. I apologize.
Dusty the King Rhodes, apparently.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Taking a page out of Lawler's playbook.
I do agree. I believe it was Cliff that said in chat, like, the shenanigans did go on a little long. Like, I understand getting heat, but on the other hand, I think you could have shaved some time off of this considerably.
Well, and really, like, the whole thing, too, like, if you want to look at how to handle misogynist man who doesn't want to fight a woman versus scrappy woman that wants to prove herself, and you want to know how that's done right, Lucha Underground Season 1, Episode 1, Son of Havoc versus Sexy Star.
Because Son of Havoc was at least endearing, and I thought he was hilarious. No, wait a minute. There's no way that I'm wrestling a woman. And then they actually do it.
And you know what? Even then, I think that was the heat of the night for me because he freaking beat Sexy Star. Sexy Star got rolled up for a 3 count. I would have changed that. But at the same time, they handled the match and the presentation infinitely better than WCW did here.
And to be fair, if I remember correctly, I do believe Havoc had a handful of tights or something, so he even had to cheat to beat her, which kind of cheapened his win. But yeah, like this, and here I thought Disco Inferno was going to get the win, like after, he caught her and was able to escape. No, Jacqueline does get the win, but what confused me, I thought this was for his television championship, but I guess it wasn't because she didn't leave with the belt. So I'm like, what was the point then? Like, unless he was really putting all his cards on the table, be like, well, I'm not scared of a woman. It's just a conundrum because how do you hit a girl? I don't really see why I should have gotten emotionally invested in this match at all unless Disco Inferno really felt that loss. He still gets to walk away television champion. Why should I care? But then again, maybe I should be glad, because if Jacqueline was television champion, they clearly weren't in the right mindset for intergender matches. We probably would have had to deal with more matches like this the entirety of Jacqueline's reign. So I don't know. I guess it's a lose-lose scenario no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, if they weren't going to be able to handle this better, or they just shouldn't have had this match, period.
Yeah, this was really, again, I don't want to say it was terrible, because to a point, I think it served its function well with Disco as the heel and Jacqueline as the babyface. But I think my biggest complaint, honestly, outside of all the misogyny and everything you mentioned, which is totally on point, is that I think it went on too long. I think you could have shaved like 5 minutes off of this, and it actually would have made it even better in my experience. But it was what it was, and Jacqueline gets the win.
Yep. All right. So then we had our 6th match of the night, and this was just, I don't even know. This was just so dumb. Curt Hennig versus Ric Flair.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I really wanted to like this because I love Curt Hennig. Like, I love Mr. Perfect. He's one of my favorite old school guys. Especially, I will still say this.
To be fair, though, this was post Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig.
That's true. That's true. And I've kind of stayed away from his WCW stuff because I love his WWF stuff too much to kind of tarnish the image I have of him. Because I will still say, even all these years later, and it's 2016, I still think that magnificent motherfucker is some of the best vignettes ever. Oh, let me play a game of horseshoes. Let me beat this guy in ping pong. Let me catch my own touchdown pass. You know, everybody's favorite.
Well, that was the thing, though. Like, Curt Hennig was a really solid worker, but he was really made by those vignettes. Like, he wasn't, he wasn't this, like, exceptional, above the rest, elite level worker or anything like that. He wasn't an exceptional promo or anything. He was just solid across the board, and they gave him a character that he was able to run with, and they gave him some of the best vignettes in the history of the business.
Oh, yeah, without question. And see, like, with what pro wrestling is, especially with the way you and I view it as, like, a really, like, story-driven vehicle and this and that, Mr. Perfect, great fucking character. And I feel like the way he worked in the ring may have been a bit ahead of his time. Maybe they weren't ready to really commit to that, because now you see that style pretty much all the time these days. But, yeah, I love him to death. This match, though, like, I was excited when you read the card, because you hear it and you're like, wow, Flair, Hennig, that's amazing, right? Like, two great workers. But it really wasn't even a match. It was more Ric Flair having beef, because wasn't this, now this may be something that I do remember, but somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the story, because I remember watching some clips, that they wanted Hennig to be in the Horsemen because Arn Anderson was retiring, and I guess Hennig must have turned heel on him?
He joined the NWO instead, yeah.
Yeah, so Flair took that very personally, because obviously with Arn's retirement and everything, and they wanted Hennig in that spot, and then he chooses the NWO. Like, that doesn't sit well. So, okay, I can appreciate that. But again,
and he stole Flair's robe.
That's right, because, he was wearing and stuff. So, fine. You've got a nice place setting. I won't give him any qualms for that. Makes sense. I remember actually hearing Arn's farewell promo and the whole interaction with Curt. I thought it was well done, so I'll give him points for that. The problem is you've got the emotional table setting down, but the execution to me left so much to be desired. Like, it started out well enough, like, Flair really going after Kurt's leg, and he was even about to take a chair to it because he doesn't give any fucks. Like, he wants to hurt him, and I understand that. But to me, it got weird with the introduction of the U.S. Championship, and then it seemed like they were going to have an actual match. See, that's what I don't like personally. If you're going to have a fight, do a fight. If you're going to have a match, do a match. I don't like when we fluctuate between the two modes. I've never really been a fan of that. Like, I like consistency. If you hate each other and this is personal, make it personal from bell to bell. But don't devolve from, oh, this is personal, to, okay, let's exchange some chops and some grappling and all that stuff. Like, I don't know if this match would have benefited from some kind of stipulation or whatever, but then using the belt the way they did as a weapon too, like, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So, yeah, I just felt like this is a bit much, and it's a shame, because I think these guys actually had a match on Raw that was, like, for Flair's career or something, that was much better than this. I should actually go back and rewatch it so I can say that definitively. But, yeah, this is actually my disappointment of the night. Not the worst match by any means, but I was actually really looking forward to this, given how much I love Curt. And, I mean, I think Flair, he's fine. I'm not a mark for him or anything, but I know how good he is because he's Ric fucking Flair. And I just feel like this match fell way short for me personally.
Yeah, this wasn't good. Of course, the match ends prematurely because Ric Flair wants so badly to just damage Kurt Hennig that he wraps, or he really does hang him from a tree of woe, and then he wraps the U.S. title around Hennig's face and then drop kicks it.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, kudos to Kurt. It seemed like his face was like busted open with how he was like convulsing and like, my face, my face. And then the NWO comes in, which pretty much might as well have been the entire WCW locker room because holy hell. And yeah, they're like, oh, why are the refs, helping Kurt, just let Flair go after him. Maybe because they just want job security regardless. Or maybe they don't want somebody to get maimed regardless of brand warfare. That's just a possibility. So yeah, this match was whatever. And I really hate to say that about the two greats involved, but yeah, this was not a fine outing for either of them.
Yeah. So then I actually, earlier on when I brought up the Macho Man promo, that was an actual promo. Then we went to the internet zone with him talking about his match with DDP tonight. And this was the whole, he doesn't want anybody involved. And he starts talking about Elizabeth and Kimberly and how, if either one of them get involved, it would be too much of them getting involved. And then they cut away before he finished the promo. So this was the one he got cut away from, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then the one he had with Elizabeth earlier, just to remark on that, since, now we got the proper order, like, I enjoyed that, because, again, it's Macho Man. I don't know, like, I can't even really come down too hard, because that wasn't my era, and yet I just get giddy when I hear him talk and hype up a match, and I'll be honest, I'm a softie. It was adorable seeing him and Miss Elizabeth together, even though they were heels. I'm a softie, so I enjoyed it. It was good stuff. Put a smile on my face. And I know Macho Man is, I think, Cliff's all-time favorite, if I had to make an assumption. So he must have enjoyed it too, I would assume. And I enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah. So then we got our 7th match of the night. This is a 9-match card. Usually that's the number of matches you'd expect to see on like a 4-hour pay-per-view, not a 3-hour pay-per-view. But we got Larry Zbyszko as the special guest referee for Scott Hall versus Lex Luger. And this was easily the best non-cruiserweight match of the night.
You know what? I would agree with you. I was torn between that and the sudden death match, but the sudden death match, man, I feel like got a little overbooked towards the end. Not that this didn't have its share of problems either, but I do agree. Like, this was a solid outing. I liked Zbyszko as referee. I liked that he was no nonsense, and he really wanted to keep it as, straight up between Scott Hall and Lex Luger. And again, this match, I think, is a perfect model of this era of wrestling because Luger and Scott Hall were both, what you would call by today's standards, very basic in their in-ring offense, and yet their personalities were so larger than life, people didn't care. Scott Hall was that cool guy.
Hall's personality was larger than life, not so much Luger. Luger was just a big, strong, scary-looking guy.
But I thought Luger was very over as a babyface at this time, or am I wrong? I thought Luger...
Oh, no, he was over to a degree, but he always kind of struggled just talking in general. He was never a good promo.
So was he like that kind of guy that you'd say, well, physically and all that stuff has all the makings of an inventor, but could never really quite put it together and be like that guy, so to speak?
Because WWE tried to push him to the moon. They gave him the Lex Express. He got to slam Yokozuna and all that shit. And basically he was Roman Reigns 20 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, that puts it in a lot of context.
Yeah, like he was never a horrible. I would say Roman is a much better in-ring worker than Luger ever was, but Luger was never like complete garbage in the ring. He was just never great in the ring, which I think is kind of the same thing as like Cena and Roman and stuff.
Right.
But Luger just could not talk to save his life. Like this is the guy that said, I might be twice the man that you are, but you've got twice the brain that I've got, or something like that. Like or I've got half the brain that you have, I think he said, or something like that. It was bad. Like, talking was always a pretty major weakness for Luger. But yeah, he was over because he had a great look, and people just really appreciated the larger than life kind of look that he had. And then, of
Right.
course, you gotta also add that he had like a pose. Like back in the day, you had a pose that you did, like DDP with the diamond cutter pose, and like Booker T with the throwing his hands up in the air and the spinneroonie, and you had that kind of stuff. And Sid had the torture rack pose that you kind of saw him doing. He was calling for the torture rack, and people did that. Like even when I was a kid, I wasn't a big Lex Luger fan, but I enjoyed doing like the torture rack thing with him, and like wrestling fans connected with that kind of stuff. And then the torture rack itself was a pretty freaking over finisher, believe it or not. So yeah, he was never a great talker, but he got over with other things. And he was never a horrible in-ring worker, but they never, WCW at least, never really gave him the keys to the kingdom the way WCW or WWE wanted to.
Right, right. And yeah, I mean, this match certainly wasn't bad. I liked Zbyszko as an official. Scott Hall did his part well, as the heel. Everybody just kind of giving him shit because obviously, WCW authority was really breathing down the NWO's neck at this point. Will Hogan show up? Will he not show up? And, in case you forgot, they only reminded you a million fucking times. But see, my problem with this match, like a lot of others, as we get in the latter half of this card.
Oh, wow. So apparently the guy that cut the half the brain that you have promo wasn't even Luger, it was Sid. So I wasn't even right there. Yeah, I guess Luger just didn't really talk much at all because I don't really remember any like iconic promos that he had. Did I even? I guess
Okay.
I even said Sid. Okay, whatever. Well, regardless, Luger's biggest problem was that he couldn't talk. Regardless of whether he cut the half the brain that you do promo or not, he never could talk, and it really prevented him from getting universally over with any crowds.
Right, right. And that they have a good match that again really is about like the names on the card. This is Scott Hall facing Lex Luger, and that was enough. The crowd seemed into it. But then, we get to the freaking finish where Luger seems like he's going to win with the torture rack. Doesn't happen. Bischoff comes out. He's doing his distraction, whatever, because his night's going to hell.
Man, Bischoff was straight up loitering at ringside at one point in this match. Like, he just would not leave.
Exactly. Like, he was not going anywhere. Then Six, who, we would later, know as X-Pac, comes in, does the kick to the back of Luger's head. Scott Hall hits the razor's edge. He gets the pin. So you think, okay, well, the NWO, they're not going quietly. I can respect that. You give some heels some momentum into the main event. Makes total sense. But not at least for this match, because Zbyszko's like, no, wait a minute. I want to see the replay. Come on. I smell shenanigans. And then, he sees it. And he's like, hey, he doesn't even say that I'm reversing the decision, awarding it to Luger on DQ. He's like, no, this match is restarting. So now Scott Hall, who's already like practically out the building, has to go back into the ring. He takes umbrage with Zbyszko, and then because Zbyszko shoves Scott Hall, he shoves him into Luger, into the torture rack, gets the submission win, which, I mean, that's a bit cheap because, again, Zbyszko shoving Hall into the maneuver. And then Zbyszko gets laid out, and I think the NWO stand tall anyway because Zbyszko got laid out and Luger's out. So, yeah, it was just overbooked to shit. Like, why not just give Scott Hall the dirty win and then make him say, like, oh, that dastardly NWO, it's all going to come down to Piper, can he do it tonight? But, I guess they just decided not to go that route.
Yeah, this... Oh, Eric Bischoff, you are a really good on-screen talent when you don't have control over what your on-screen character does. This was so bad. Like, this is Lex Luger. This dude is like 6'4", almost 300 pounds. He's got to be at least 270 in this point. And they freaking had Six, formerly known as X-Pac, get in the ring and beat up Zbyszko, and then we had him and Hall, and I think it was just those two guys and Bischoff managed to get Luger out of the ring, and then they beat up the Zbyszko, and Eric Bischoff puts his foot on Zbyszko's chest, and Hall counts to 3. Like, oh, Bischoff, you thought you were actual hot shit in 97, didn't you?
I'm a heel. I'm doing it, guys. I'm doing it. You and your fucking dollar store haircut. Jesus Christ. Yeah, again, not a bad match by any means, but that finish, like the final minute, I'm like, why? Why? Just let the heel get the win. And because really, I will say this, not to jump the gun, that is one thing that I think they did right in Sudden Death. You have the heel go over, because if you're really hyping up the cage match, and if you're saying, right, that this is WCW versus the NWO, you should make NWO, that's the aggressor in this thing, that's kind of the specter looming over WCW, seem really dominant. And I don't like this whole half-half kind of thing.
I gotta cut you off there, because this has been a year-long build of NWO being nothing but dominant.
Okay. Well, then I'll give you that. But still, like, it's weird that you have the babyface go over in this fashion, because at the very least, if he was going to go over, why not just have it be straight up? Like the whole show me the replay, get back in, and then the shove, like, it doesn't really make Luger seem like, oh, this is a win for WCW. No, it's just that you cheated NWO.
Well, no, but it did seem like a win for WCW because Zbyszko was firmly anti-NWO.
Right.
I don't know. It was kind of like, Zbyszko teaming up with Luger to take down one of the spearheads of the NWO,
Right. I mean, I guess I can appreciate that, but I mean, if I'm being honest, I can't totally get behind this. I thought this was overdone. I thought you could have, even if you had to have the babyface go over, which I still am kind of about, you could have at least made Luger seem like less than shit. Because again, it seemed like he lucked into that torture rack. Because
you gotta also remember though, he had the match won before the Bischoff distraction and the 6 kick to the head.
Yeah,
that led to Hall being able to get the win over him in the first place, even though he cheated.
Then yeah, I guess I just always feel like the babyface should be the better person regardless, and just the way that it like all went down. I get that the NWO cheated first, but 2 wrongs don't make it right and all that shit. So, but it was what it was.
At the same time, though, Luger didn't really cheat. He didn't do anything dastardly. Hall was instigating Zbyszko. Zbyszko stood up for himself rather than letting himself just get pushed around, and Hall paid for it because Luger put him in the torture rack. So I know that you're like really super anti-babyface, pro-heel, scum squad for life, that kind of stuff. But really, this was a completely justified action because, first of all, you had Bischoff down at the ring trying really hard to distract Luger to help Hall win. Then you had him distracting the ref so that 6 could get in the ring and kick Luger in the head. That helped Hall to get the Razor's Edge for the win. And then Zbyszko, being one of the few referees that actually has some stroke in the back, he calls for the replay, calls for the restart of the match, and Hall, rather than being like, fine, we got caught, I got to win for real now, he gets in the ring and immediately goes after Zbyszko. So then Zbyszko shoving him wasn't like an
unprovoked thing.
Not like it was completely unprompted or like, he was the aggressor. Hall was clearly the aggressor. Zbyszko just stood up for himself, and then Luger, being the 6'4", 280-pound behemoth that he is, got Hall up into a torture rack, and Hall almost immediately tapped or gave up or whatever. And Zbyszko, as he was calling for the bell, that was when 6 came in and attacked him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying. I just still like whether the babyface went over or not, to me isn't the issue. I just still felt like it kind of teetered into overbooking for me. But I mean, yeah, Luger does get the win, so it is a win for WCW, and they struck a blow to the NWO, and it wouldn't be the last of the night. But we'll get to that later. And yeah, not a bad match. I just really couldn't get down completely with the finish and like how it all rounded out.
Yeah. All right, so match number 8 was Macho Man Randy Savage, versus Diamond Dallas Page. And what was the name of this match, John? Because I just have Last Man Standing written on my notes.
It was a sudden death match.
Okay, there you go.
What did you think of this?
I thought this was a great match, actually, until the end. The end was really stupid and made no sense whatsoever. But other than that, this match was great.
You know what? Like I guess like yeah, because it was the same way I felt about the Luger Hall match. Like I was enjoying it up until like how the ending went down. It seemed like NWO or not NWO, WCW. So yeah, I guess commentary's conditioning did work. Really couldn't get the endings right for a lot of like the bigger matches. That said, though, I did enjoy this. I mean, seeing Macho Man work heel and target DDP's ribs, which it's weird seeing DDP acting as a babyface, given that we watched Ready to Rumble recently, and he was the heel of that movie. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be cheering for you now. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, good psychology here and working over DDP's ribs. Good spots, you know, for a sudden death match, as they called it. You know, Macho Man just driving DDP's head into the steel steps at one point. Macho Man going into the tombstones, and then, you know, the box getting thrown on him. So that, you know, they did a lot of cool stuff here. A camera being brought in. That's $1,000 camera.
$100,000, brother.
$100,000 camera. I mean, yeah, holy hell.
They actually said that. They were like, oh no, that camera, that's going to cost us so much money. How much do you think that thing costs? Oh, that's got to cost $100,000 plus.
Exactly. You know, really cool seeing Macho Man's elbow, which is fucking gorgeous. Oh my God, that elbow drop. And the diamond cutter. You know, that was really cool seeing that too. So yeah, I mean, these guys, they put their backs into it for sure. I do love the point where Elizabeth tried getting involved. It was just hilarious seeing her try and be a heel. I just really felt a disconnect.
She totally pulled it off, though, dude. That glass plate to the head of the referee, brutal.
Yes, and it was even funnier because Dusty Rhodes is on some unrelated tangent about waitressing or whatever, and like he got excited about one spot. I think that was like the whole tombstone spot, and he's talking about waitressing and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, Dusty? Like, what the shit is this? And then Elizabeth comes in with that glass plate and then just clocks it. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it just, all right, now it's starting to go to shit. Everything's going to shit. And then she's trying to choke out Dallas, but then Kimberly comes out. And really, she just forcibly pulls Elizabeth into the back by the hair. That's all it was. Like, you getting out of this match, you're done, and we were gonna have a talk about this after. I'm sorry, it hurts. You know, so that was just fucking hysterical. And then the finish, you know, you'd think, well, Elizabeth's out, DDP's making the comeback, he can beat anybody, even with these bad ribs, right? Nope, because he tries going for the diamond cutter. Macho Man looked like he was going for a backslide. I'm like, well, what's the point of that? You know, there are no pinfalls, but turns out Macho Man and his infinite genius, another low blow.
Low blow, yes.
DDP,
and that hurt DDP so much that he sold it out of the ring.
Yeah, he sold it out of the ring, and you know, as he's starting to get up, you know, for the match to continue, you know, a picture of Sting. I wish. No, it was an imposter Sting came out, hit DDP in the bruised ribs of the baseball bat, and they're like, nope. He ain't getting up. Between the yam bags and the wind being driven out of him, it's over. And it was, because Randy Savage wins off of it. He gets the win, and he actually continues to beat down afterwards. So he really put his stamp on it. He really punctuated that beating quite nicely. So Macho Man wins. Solid match. I agree with you about the finish, especially given how the main event went down. That's what makes it even worse. Like, I could forgive it if it was in a vacuum, but given all this talk about Sting, and then you see this imposter Sting, and then you see the finish of the cage match, no, you're not forgiven for this at all. So I do agree with you. Yeah, the ending was meh at best. Ugh.
Yeah. This was hilarious to me. Just, I mean, really the hilarity started with Kimberly showing up, and Kimberly Page is who it was, and she, former Nitro girl, I believe, and DDP's wife, and she shows up, and like you said, man, she just gets a handful of weave and just starts dragging Elizabeth down the ramp, or up the ramp, I guess.
Yeah.
And just, like, the way that Elizabeth was struggling was kind of funny, because it just reminded me of like a kitten when you grab it by the scruff, struggling to make you let it go.
Yeah. It was so bad. Oh my God. I'm like, what the fuck?
And then the low blow, and then the imposter Sting. Like, what is going on right now?
Now, let me ask you this about, because I'm always curious about what happens after shows like this, you know, the future of these performers in the past. Was DDP like already a former world champion at the time of the show, or did he not get his run yet? Because I did see in the chat, and yeah, people are right, DDP was massively over. So I want to know if he had his world title run like before.
I don't think he won his first title until after Goldberg had his run.
Oh wow! So okay, that did come then. I'm guessing after the show then. So yeah, that's crazy that he would go from this to world champion. Well, at least he stuck it out. Good for you, Dallas. Good for you.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they took a while to put the title on him for some reason. Like they just kind of used him as a sort of like upper like jobber to the stars kind of mid carder for some reason.
Right. Yeah, it's a shit. Because I mean, yeah, like Chad said, and as you could see in this match, like they were really behind Dallas. The Diamond Cutter was majorly over. Of course, Macho Man, I think he always is gonna have people who loved him, whether he was working heel or baby. So you have two really colorful personalities, very alive personalities going head to head. And I mean, it was everything you'd expect. It's just the ending, I think, left a lot to be desired. So good outing by these guys.
DDP didn't win his first WCW world title until April 11th, 1999.
Wow. So that was quite a while after the show.
And he beat Flair for it, and he held it for 15 days before dropping it to Sting, who held it for less than a night, and then DDP won it back.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So if you don't count Sting's less than 1 day long run with the title, DDP held the title for 4 weeks before dropping it to Kevin Nash. And then he didn't get the title back until 2000, a year later, and he only held it for a day before dropping it to David Arquette. So 3 title runs, a grand total of 29 days with the championship, DDP.
Yeah, that's what partaking in finishes like this gets you, Dallas. A shitload of crap. Crap on top of crap.
A shitload of crap or a crap load of shit. You make up your mind.
Exactly. So anything else you want to say about this match, partner?
No, I think we can move on. Up next, we had our 9th and final match of the night.
Oh
Hollywood Hogan, Brother Dude Jack versus Roddy Piper. And I love, too, that Michael Buffer in this. It wasn't Roddy Piper. It was Roddy.
Yeah.
Oh, Buffer, you ham.
Hey, look, if we're being honest, the introductions are probably the best part of this main event, but I digress. I will give one compliment. I'm being serious about this. I like how at this time when there was a cage match, even if you went outside of the door, that didn't mean the match was over. Like, you had to climb over the top or pin or submit your opponent. So if you were going to escape, you couldn't escape some cheap-ass way. You had to go over the top. So I do appreciate that. It being a cage match, no, you had to expend yourself and expend your energy to win a cage match. You know
what, though, dude? It was still hilarious because Hogan exited the cage through the door like 7 minutes into this match.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done with this crap. And he tries leaving. But there's the first sting. The first sting of fucking 50. And not one of them was the genuine article. Now, there's something I want to ask before
and
I
more
rip this match.
importantly, not one of them was actually revealed.
Yeah. I have to ask this before I tear this match a new asshole because I was so fucking angry with this. Now, I'm guessing the answer is no, and I say that because commentary had mentioned that I believe it was Sting, Dallas, and Piper. They all had interactions with each other in the weeks leading up to this. So this was not the buildup of Crow Sting, right? This was not where he's like silent and takes down the end of it. Okay.
No. Sting, he had been Crow Sting for a while at this point.
Okay, so you don't get a fucking pass then, WCW. You do not get a pass. Because if you were building that up and like, because again, in a vacuum, I'm going to be more critical until I get proper context and then maybe I'll ease up. No, if that's the case, what you're telling me, fuck this finish. Fuck this finish. Because if you were building up Crow Sting, like, oh, where's Sting? You know, is he going to take down the, like, I get it. I'd still maybe be a bit frustrated, but I could appreciate it because, like, wow, they want Sting so bad. People are taking up the mantle to be Sting themselves. Could be an interesting storytelling device. But no, we already had Sting, except on this fucking show where you were worried about him all night. Like, that's the thing. This match on its own merits. Look, I'm going to be forthcoming with everybody. This is not my type of wrestling. There's a reason why I don't watch a lot of old school wrestling. I'll be honest, I'm spoiled. I like my German suplexes and my, fireman's carry face busters and all that other stuff. Like in those days, an arm drag would be considered a legitimate finisher. Well, not this pay-per-view, but you get my point. These old school wrestlers, there were more basic maneuvers that counted as finishers. But, the story was there. Piper beat Hogan 2 times with the sleeper. Can he put him to sleep for a third time? And was this for the WCW title? Because that really wasn't made clear to me either.
Honestly, I don't think it was, believe it or not.
Why? Oh my God. Okay, so it wasn't for the world title for reasons. It's a fucking 9-match card, and this wasn't even for the fucking world title. Even though Piper beat the champion twice with a sleeper. Now, I'll give WWE shit about how, they establish contenders by having them beat champions in non-title matches. But here's the rub, guys. At least they, establish contenders. The idea that this is the third time they get in the ring, Piper is 2-0, and this wasn't even a championship match? What are you smoking? Like, you realize that Hulk makes the belt,
dude,
right?
That's why, because Hulk Hogan won the belt in August of this year from Luger. Luger held the belt for a grand total of 5 days. And the funny thing is, Hogan initially won the belt August of 96 with the NWO run. He won it from the Giant and everything. And then he held the title for 359 days, dropped it to Luger for 5, and then won it back and held it until December 28th, 1997, where he dropped it to Sting.
Fucking shoot me. You've got to be fucking kidding me. This is why politics are a fucking cancer, because, and see, this is my thing. Am I a mark for championships? Go listen to my Johnny Mundo mark out and answer your own goddamn question. But the thing is, when you're really good, I mean really good, you don't need a championship. Doesn't mean I won't want my favorite guys to have one. I'm happy Bray Wyatt as a tag team champion at present. But you're talking about Hulk fucking Hogan. As far as I'm concerned, that belt in his presence, with a personality of his magnitude, becomes nothing more than a stage prop, which I mean, in essence, is what it is to begin with, but you get my point. Like, it's not needed. So why not? When Piper's beaten him 2 prior times, and this is a fucking cage match. It's big. You've got all the garnish on the plate, but no steak on top of it, that being the world title. But no, this is about an illusory power struggle. WCW versus NWO. Don't you make those power struggles tangible with things like the world title? Oh, the NWO controls the world title. What do we do? And it's not even at stake? See, I thought I was just going to rant about Sting, and then you inform me of this fucking bullshit. But let's get to Sting.
Dude, no, the funny thing is, what you really need to understand, okay, is Hulk Hogan had a complete stranglehold on the WCW title, to the point that, let me just list 3 names for you, John. Ric Flair, Big Van Vader, and Booker T, right? You think of those 3 names, those guys are synonymous with WCW, right? Those guys might as well be the faces of WCW, right?
Right.
Hulk Hogan held the WCW title for a longer total combined amount of time than those 3 guys combined.
You know what? That doesn't even surprise me, because everybody always said, and look, I don't really like kicking a guy when he's down, but it's Hulk Hogan, so fuck it. For as great as he was, he was a better politician. He was always a great politician. From the stories I heard, I wasn't there, but when so many people give secondhand accounts, you start to wonder, well, maybe there's a bit of truth to it. The idea that you tell me that, I shouldn't even be this angry, and I think this is just my Sting anger manifesting in another form, but let's get back to Sting. All fucking night, and again, I'm glad you clarified for me to show that my anger is justified. All night, you're talking about Sting. Is he going to show up? What's he going to do, they're asking. He's had these interactions with Dallas and Piper. What role is he going to play? Hogan and Bischoff are so fucking worried about him that they explicitly in that backstage promo say, hey, you better get Sting banned or we're walking out. We got issues. All this stuff about Sting, I'm like, well, great. Sting's going to factor into the finish, right? Right? That's the biggest fucking joke of the show, because he doesn't even show up. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't mind that Piper won this with the sleeper. They already established, hey, when Hogan gets caught in that sleeper, it's over. But the fact that Sting didn't even help in that situation, but it was an imposter Sting, because remember, at one point, Hogan did look like he was escaping the cage, but one of the imposter Stings was holding the bat up, and Hogan was like, hey, little rascal, get out of here. I'm trying to win this match. And it didn't work out. And then I'm like, all right, fine. Piper wins without Sting. That's cool. But clearly with this beatdown, Sting's got to show up. Look, even a fan who's so concerned about Piper and is in Sting face paint, he's coming down, and Sting is so protective of the people. Sting represents the people. Clearly, he is not going to stand by while a fan gets assaulted, right? And then you hear, I believe, Siobhan say, well, that's it. We got to, we're off the air. What? I just watched a fan get assaulted. I'm waiting for Sting. I'm trying to be a mark for you fucking people, being like, yay, Sting, save the day. This is why I support heels, people. Heels never let you down. When they tell you they're going to ruin your life, they do it. Where the fuck was Sting? All his talk of justice, and he didn't even show up. Oh my God, this ending was so bad. It was so bad. It broke me. It really broke me, because I was mad about this pay-per-view. I looked at the timestamp. I'm like, oh, thank God, the main event. And I'm like, well, Sting could pick me up because Sting was a badass. Everybody loves Sting in WCW. I don't even get Sting. The fuck is wrong with you, WCW? Do you have anything you want to add? Please jump in. Please, because I'm fucking.
I do want to add something. I want to add more world title numbers. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, lay it on me.
This is even including WWE's version of the WCW World Championship, which was retired in 2001, right?
Right.
Chris Benoit,
yeah,
which you already know, he only held it for a day, so this isn't much of a big deal. Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, Vince Russo, David Arquette, Chris Jericho, Diamond Dallas Page, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Jeff Jarrett, Sid Vicious, The Rock, Kevin Nash, The Giant, Scott Steiner, Ron Simmons, and Goldberg. You heard all those names I just listed. And if you add up every single one of their WCW world title reigns together, that is a total of 1,070 days worth of WCW championship reigns. Hogan, 1,177 by himself.
Jesus Christ.
He had the WCW title for longer than twice as long as the next longest reigning guy. Which was Ric Flair. Hogan had it for 1177. Flair had the WCW world title through 7 reigns for a combined 505 days.
I think my head just hemorrhaged. Oh my God.
Oh, and since we're doing math, because I know you guys love when I do these math segments, right? Let's also add the number of reigns, because Hogan had his 1,177 days worth of championship reign over the course of 4 reigns, right?
Right.
So let's find out exactly how many reigns these guys had combined to get 1,050 days. Are you ready for this?
All right.
33.
Wow. Yeah, I think that about says everything. I can't believe, because I honestly, and it's my own fault, and I made that mistake, I think, probably 3 times. I thought the Flair Hennig match was U.S. title. I thought Jacqueline Disco Inferno was World Television. Was the only title match the Cruiserweight fucking championship?
No. The U.S. title was also on the line, I believe.
Okay, so Hennig just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Flair, didn't give a shit, and he just wanted to throw the match out to beat up Kurt. Okay. That I can appreciate. But yeah, the idea that you're world title.
And PW Gregory is asking for the average in the chat right now. So I'll tell you guys, the average WCW title reign among the people that I just listed, the 33 reigns total, the average length of their reigns was 32 and a half days.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Hulk Hogan had an average WCW title reign of 196 days.
I I remember listening to a Kevin Nash interview on Stone Cold's podcast, because that's how I like Kevin Nash best, when he's giving shoot interviews. I do think he's a great talker, and I can't lie about that. And Austin ran down all of Nash's accomplishments, including like all of his world titles and like some of the notable matches he won, particularly in WCW. And Nash quipped afterwards, I'm assuming with a smirk on his face, the power of a pencil, am I right? Oh, yeah, Nash, you were right. Because I'll tell you, if you worked that pencil, Hogan burned it down all the way to the goddamn eraser. Jesus Christ. That
Well,
is...
the thing is, Hogan didn't need the pencil because he had creative control over his own character as a part of his contract, and his contract was guaranteed. So if somebody said, hey, Hogan, we would really like it if you would put over this other guy, Hogan would be like, sorry, brother, but I don't got to do that. Have you seen my contract?
So I guess the guys that he did put over must have said a hell of a lot about how he felt about them if he had complete autonomy over how his matches went.
Well, dude, think about who he put over. He put over the Giant. And in that situation, what are you going to do? You can't be like, oh, the bookers want me to lose, but I am Hulk Hogan, so I'm going to stiff the Big Show, who's 7 feet tall and almost 500 pounds. Like, no,
Right.
you don't have much of a choice in that situation. You're going to job. If they ask you to job, you're going to job. And then he put over Luger, who is another guy who maybe not be as big as the Giant, but he's another guy that you really don't want to get under the freaking, the skin of. And then he put over Sting via submission, and it was a friggin' fast count. Oh, Hogan pinned Sting in that match, but then Bret Hart was the guest referee.
God, it was that spot. Because see, I do know some sporadic WCW history, and then Bret comes out and he's like, "I'm not gonna let this happen again." Aren't you making it happen with your involvement? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, so Hogan beat Sting with a fast count, and then Bret Hart made them restart the match, and Sting finally got the win there via submission. The next guy Hogan put over was Goldberg, who, like, thank Christ Hogan was at least willing to put him over with the streak he had. And then the only other guy Sting got put over by Hogan again in 99. So that was whatever. Hogan respected Sting. I think we all knew that. The only other guy that Hogan ever put over, though, was Ric Flair. And it was one time, and it was a first blood steel cage match that Flair still managed to somehow win via pinfall. Oh, my God.
WCW, I'm so glad you're dead. Because, yeah, this was awful. This was not a pleasurable experience. And the thing is, I rarely watch WCW to begin with. This was kind of like, I mean, you guys know about like Skinner's box and Pavlovian conditioning and all that stuff. Yeah, this was my electric shock. I am now going to forever associate WCW with this show, because this was my first major exposure with WCW. And yeah, cruiserweights, great. I honestly, like I said at the start of the show, bringing it full circle, this should have been just an entirely cruiserweight-centric show with Ray Guerrero as the main event, title versus mask. And, I would have been all over that shit. But then you get to the big-time talent, and Savage DDP, save for the ending. Like, I really did enjoy that match, and I want to give that match its due. Alex Wright, go die in a fire. And then Hogan Piper, I don't even know what the God. See, because again, like, there are merits that I could give the match. Certainly, I get it. It's two old school guys, doing that kind of match and all that stuff. But you keep building. See, because to me, and I don't know if I'm like in the minority here, but I think what makes me so angry is, even if you're not explicitly saying like Sting's going to be on the show tonight, when you're allowed worrying about Sting and like, oh, you better take care of Sting, it's very heavily implied he is going to have a hand to play here, right? And then when he doesn't even show up when a fan is getting assaulted that's donning his face paint, like, how the hell am I supposed to feel? Vacuum or no vacuum, this just rubs me completely the wrong way. And any good graces I would have given this main event, totally sullied by Sting's absence when he was built up what felt like a good part of the night. So, yeah, fuck this main event.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's funny, too, because my first WCW pay-per-view was Halloween Havoc 98. and it was a complete freaking mess. But I wouldn't have known because my pay-per-view feed cut out. Like, I think it was like 25 minutes into the show. So Halloween Havoc 98 was the first WCW pay-per-view I've ever tried to watch live, you know, and actually paid the $30. It was only $30 back in the day for pay-per-views, and actually paid the $30 to see it. Luckily, that money got refunded, and I was able to watch World War III 98 and then Starrcade 98, because Starrcade 98 was when Kevin Nash beat Goldberg via Scott Hall interference with a taser.
Oh my god! You know what though? I might have actually taken that over there. You know what I was thinking to myself when this ended? I actually said to myself, I would have rather had the cattle prod, you know, like, or the finger poke of doom. Like, I would have taken either of those things over this shit, because I'm sorry, like, I'm a big believer, unless it's serious circumstances, like if Sting, God forbid, like had a death in his family or a serious injury, I'd get it, because there are some things you just can't fucking control. But if Sting didn't have any issues, if nobody had any issues, when you're building up something like that, it's kind of like you're making a promise to the fans, both in attendance and at home, and you don't follow through. That, to me, I mean, I know I joke around and I'm like, oh, scum squad. No, that's a legitimately scummy thing to do. And no fucking respect for me on that shit at all. At all. That is just straight up bullshit. I felt dirty. You know, I'm like, I feel like I was lied to, and it just totally ruined my experience of the main event. So yeah, this show, overall great. Again, to reiterate, I'm not going to hate on it fiercely, even though it does kind of sound like with some of my rants that I did. I'd still give it, at the end of the day, a very lukewarm 6, and maybe that's even being generous for me. Maybe I'm just letting WCW get off easy. But I mean, Ray, Eddie, I'll tell you, I hope they got a Z-Pack, an Ice Pack, every kind of pack for their backs, because they really carried this show for me personally as far as my enjoyment goes. They had a phenomenal match.
I kind of feel like the fan that tried to storm the cage at the end of the night really, you know, he took one for the team.
Look, he got exactly what he deserved for being stupid, but, I mean, I would have at least appreciated him if he was a sacrifice for Sting. Like, oh, Sting, I sacrificed myself so that you can arise! But he didn't even show up, so Sting didn't even give a fuck about you, dude. The guy whose face paint you wore couldn't have given a shit about you getting beat up or not. So, mull over on that fact. I hope that weighs heavily upon your existence while you're crying alone in your bathtub at night, because I'll probably be joining you for sustaining this piece of shit, or enduring this piece of shit, I should say. But yeah, Cliff, there's your review. There's the main event you made us watch. Really appreciate it. Now my shoulder's at 12%. Oh, my shoulder. I was happy for you, man. I was happy that your shoulder healed. I loved you. Oh, God.
I martyred myself for you.
Oh, my God. Now, let me ask this, though, because this is something I need cleared up, because I didn't really know how to think. The fan that did climb over the cage, was that like a work? Was it just like, oh, another Sting coming in there? Or was that
No, that was a real fan who thought that they were going to save Roddy Piper from the NWO.
Okay, well then, yeah, you definitely got what you deserve. You're stupid, and I wish Darwinism would just do its work. Oh my God, what a fucking mouth-breathing malcontent. I've got nothing else to say about this. Now that I know that that's a fan, you know what? Just because that's a fan, and I got to see a stupid human being get abused, I'm going to bump this up just a little bit. I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Knowing that a fan was that stupid and they got their ass handed to them because they're losers and they're worthless. And you know what, fan? Maybe it's just Sting that I'm taking out on you, but that's what you get when you take matters into your own hands and you fail about it. Suck less. Suck less. You're fucking horrible. 6.5 out of 10. I'm
also giving it a 6.5. That's hilarious. We gave it the exact same score. And even when you said you were giving it a 6, I was like, oh, well, I'm actually giving it a better grade than you. I'm giving it a 6.5. But then you came up to my level. So we're both giving it a 6.5. And this is just hilarious. So, yeah. All right. Well, Halloween Havoc 97, folks, in the bag.
Guys, we... wait, Cliff's asking me, see, John, that's worth the suffering, right? You know what? I think it is kind of worth the suffering, seeing someone that's stupid get what they deserve. I'm tired of seeing stupid people get awarded all the time. In movies, they get their happy ending, or in TV shows, it's like, oh, they're gonna be okay. No, you're not gonna be okay. You were fucking dumb. Now suffer the consequences and deal with it. That might be the only time I've ever really liked Hogan, was seeing him beat up another human being because they thought they were hot shit. Not even a warm fart, motherfucker. Know your goddamn place. So yeah, that was Halloween Havoc 1997. I hate Sting fans, apparently, and most importantly, I hate finishes that Sting isn't a part of, even though he was very much promised to be a part of. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10. Would not watch again. Would certainly not watch again. So yeah,
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive. I'm absolutely 150% positive. Actually, this was an experience. I'll give it that, but a very unpleasurable one, save for the cruiserweight matches and Savage DDP, which I did enjoy. But yeah, other than that,
Yeah, that's. Oh man, this is hilarious. And apparently now we've got, I think it was PW Gregory. Yeah, PW Gregory in chat thinking about donating for us to either review or react to Starcade that year. So
oh my, why do you people like to see me suffer? I only laugh at punted babies and other horrible things. I don't deserve this. I'm at least a semi-decent human being at best. I don't deserve this, damn it.
Oh, by the way, John, I've been meaning to ask you, what was the name of that faction that you run again?
The scum. Oh God, it's coming back to bite me in the. See, I knew it. I knew it. I knew. No. See, no. You just made a light bulb go off in my head. I get it now. Oh, Cliff, you're so goddamn clever. Oh, I love TWitWoW. Oh, I'll donate to the Patreon. I know what this is. I know what this is. Kenny Omega's your favorite. You don't think I haven't seen this shit before? What, does my state ID say I was born yesterday? You're trying to take over the Scum Squad. You're like, oh, I'll just make John tap out. He'll give the reins to me. That is never going to happen, Cliff. I was happy for you that your shoulder was at 100%. I'll make sure that it's at 12% when I'm done with you. Oh, yeah. This show sucked. This show sucked. God, this show sucked. Damn you, Cliff.
You know what, though, John? This show might have sucked, but I think this review was pretty legendary. We've gone on for almost 2 hours talking about this piece of trash. If we could go this long talking about a horrible show like this, imagine how long we would go if someone asked us to review, like, WrestleMania 19 or something actually amazing like that. You never know, guys. We might be able to pull out a 3-hour review if you try hard enough. You never know. But regardless, we're going to close things out here. Be sure to stay tuned because tomorrow is going to be previewing predictions for Roadblock Into the Line, which sounds like a horrible WWE Films military movie for some reason. Of course, we've got live reactions to that same show on Sunday. And next Wednesday is going to be incredible because Lucha Underground is just ace. It's tops.
Yeah, with an actual fucking cage match that's not going to blow. With Johnny Mundo at 6. No, I'm sorry. I know you were doing your outro, but you know what? I've been cut off on outros before. I'm cutting you off. That cage match is going to be fucking amazing. You know why? Because Lucha Underground doesn't suck Swansons. That's why. Yeah. This match is going to be amazing because Johnny Mundo's going to take Sexy Star to Slamtown for a third. Count them 3 whole fucking times to Slamtown. You know, the same number that Piper beat Hogan, but he never had a world title to fucking show for it. But Johnny Mundo will. Johnny Mundo will, because when that match is over, he is still going to be your Lucha Underground champion. It's Clash in the Cage, and it's not going to blow, unlike the coke that I'm going to do for the rest of the night. Forget this goddamn abomination. Fuck you, WCW. Fuck you so hard. Now you can resume your outro.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, and with that being said, we would like to thank Cliff Amal for his generous donation to get us to watch and review this show. And we will see you guys for preview predictions tomorrow night. Stay tuned.